Hi, my name is Alistair. As some of you may know, I've been building a single-seater historic racing car called a Monoposto. I haven't posted anything for a while because progress has been somewhat slow. The main reason for this is the parts. Basically, this design of rear axle that I'm working on uses some special bearings, and these were particularly difficult to get hold of. Also, the design is quite complicated in that requiring an offset axle created out of an Austin Ruby D-shaped rear axle. I'll show you the design process and the resulting successful parts produced, which contribute to the Monoposto single. Here we have my Monoposto rear axle based on a Austin 7 1937 Ruby type rear axle, D-shaped rear axle. The differences are that the right hand shaft is 127 millimeters longer than the other shaft, and the pinion shaft, which I can show you here, is the pinion shaft is very much shorter. Normally that's about 300 and something, 370 millimeters long. It's now 175 millimeters long and requires a special design. It's the new pinion tube. It used to be 442 millimeters long, and it's now less than 175 millimeters long. The whole thing has been modelled in 3D, so you can see how the whole thing goes together. This assembly here is the outer casing, and this assembly here is the innards using the bearings, and you can see how it all goes together. This video represents major progress on the Monoposto 7 project. This is an Austin 7 based Bert Hadley type single-seater, and the months preceding this have taken up by getting all the parts for the rear axle, remodelling the rear axle, drive shafts for the rear axle. The rear axle is different from a normal Austin 7 axle in that the right hand side is 5 inches longer. That means the drive shaft on that side has to be 5 inches longer and required friction welding. The whole suspension has lowered, and therefore you have these flanges onto the rear springs, and these rear springs are mounted on top of the chassis, not in the chassis. Also, you've got tie rods to the side of the car, and they're adjustable. The prop shaft is 25 millimeters shorter than normal because the engine is about 400 millimeters further back. The pinion shaft has to be 100 millimeters instead of 300 millimeters or 400 millimeters. So the whole rear axle assembly was a high risk development item and is now resolved because the diff has been shimmed and it has got virtually no play in it, and looks like a good part.